So Simon, tell us about the origins of Mighty Ape, because this business has been something of an evolution for you from where you started out at.
Yeah, we started as a retail store many years ago, selling video games, and what happened was the internet came along, and we had a lot of customers calling us going, "When's this game coming out? When's this game coming out?" And we were like, "Let's do a website. Let's do a website, put some release dates up there, and people will stop hassling us." So we did that, and that was pretty popular. And then it was Amazon sort of came along, and we decided, yep, selling goods online might be a good idea. So we converted that into an e-commerce site, and started selling games. Started selling games online, and that was mildly successful. At the time, we were running a video game retail store, and that was taking a lot of our time. So I think it was pretty much when the DVD, probably 1 year after the DVDs came along, that we were like, okay, we need to get into this DVD thing, and so we added another category. And then slowly over time, we watched Amazon get bigger and bigger, and it was like, wow, they're awesome. We'd love to be like them. At the time, we were still tiny. I think we still had DVDs were stored in 2 cupboards in the garage. So picking was pretty quick. Didn't take long to get the orders out each day. And then we decided, well, we'd love to do books. So we launched in 2008 with books, toys, and music CDs. And from there, it's really just been a case of adding more categories and getting busier. So
Amazon was always your role model?
Definitely, definitely. Those guys obviously do stuff really, really well. They set the benchmark, so for us, it's always aspiring to be as good as those guys.
And you've seen that evolution, because obviously you must have had some pretty loyal customers who were there right from the get-go, and they were obviously raving fans, but you've seen that process develop to the point at which where just about everybody's engaged in online in some way. Was there a tipping point there? Did you notice that, or did that happen actually quite quickly?
For us, the tipping point came in 2008 when we changed the name to Mighty Ape, and we turned our site from black to white. And it's the day we went from the dark sort of gamer site to a nice white site with a friendly name. Our percentage of females joining the site went from about 15% to 52% overnight. As soon as we flicked that switch, it was like suddenly we were selling stuff that was a lot more mass market. So a lot wider range. So
did that surprise you, that the impact that had?
Yes, because we expected the opposite. We expected a backlash, because from our gaming guys, in terms of we've gone from a hardcore gaming store into something a little bit more mass. There's probably a little bit of a backlash that lasted probably about a week. But yes, it certainly has surprised us.
But they largely have stayed with you.
Yes, we've got some great loyal customers. Obviously, take care of them as best we can. But we've got a lot of customers who've got .100 plus on their orders, which is the number of orders they've placed with us, and we've got thousands of those guys. So,
is that something that you've found is important? It's a bit like Trade Me. Everybody wants their their authentic score to be maintained, their credibility, their reputation. Is that something that's important to maintaining the customer interface for you?
For us, it's really just been trying to be specialist still. For us, the integrity is about still being a gaming specialist. We're still the best gaming store in the country. We, because we add another category, we certainly don't drop the ball there. We make sure we hire, good people to take on these other categories that are also specialists. So, our objective really is to nail every single category.
How would you typify, or can you typify a typical Mighty Ape customer?
No, not anymore. I think the appeal for Mighty Ape is getting pretty wide now. So we want to appeal to as many people as possible, and I think we are starting to achieve that.
And the branding and the development, has this largely been organic? I mean, you don't see Mighty Ape ads on television or anything like that. Have you just kind of let this happen, bubble away of its own accord? Yeah,
I mean, I think Trade Me set the standard there in terms of they grew big without spending money on TV. We could have spent money on TV, but we've always found that for every $1 you spend offline, you can probably spend that better online. So our focus has been online. Number one focus is look after the customers, if you delight them, they'll tell their friends, and that's always been our number one marketing tool.
So you want your customers to be your raving fans, to be your advocates?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, if you can do that, you're killing two birds with one stone. You've got a happy customer and you're going to get new customers.
Because the service interface is complicated. I mean, one advantage that bricks and mortar retailers have got is you walk in, you buy the item, and you walk out. And that's the delivery process. From your point of view, the customer sends in the order, and then there's a whole lot of things that have to happen to ensure that their order arrives. How much do you really make sure that process is as tight as it possibly can be?
It's a 1,000-step process for us in terms of taking it lots and lots and lots of small improvements. We've written our entire back end for our website from day one, so we're in control of all of the process. We don't have to get sign off or try and explain how we want things done. We basically have molded the system to work as best for us and our customers. So I think that's a huge advantage over off-the-shelf products.
And you've done all that in-house as well?
Yep, all in-house. Yep, a lot of work.
How have you approached that process? What have been the metrics that you've looked to try and achieve?
It's really just setting what we want to achieve as a cutoff. Like, we want all orders to ship at 4 p.m. today and get there tomorrow. How do we make sure the orders go at 4 o'clock? And it's like any time that we aren't hitting that goal, it's like, well, what process is holding us up? Where are the sticking points? Is it dispatch? Is it the picking? Is it the charging process? Is that too slow? Are the banks too slow? It's really just nailing each of those little things constantly over time.
So you have to have a fairly large warehouse, obviously, to stock everything. And are you also working on systems whereby you're expecting that material to be delivered, like a just-in-time type approach? How do you manage that sort of interface as well?
It's always balancing the handling cost versus the holding cost for the stock. It's like, is it cheaper to hold the stock, or is it cheaper to stock it in, get it on the shelf, get it picked, get it out the door again? And over time, that does sort of switch from holding to handling. So these days, we are trying to turn the stock over faster with more people. But yeah, those are the two main considerations.
And in terms of the delivery, because obviously you're not in the delivery business, so how have you managed that interface as well? I'm assuming you've done a deal, have you an exclusive deal with a provider, and then there's all kinds of delivery, expectations that are on them to make sure that it's actually delivered on time. Yeah,
we get monthly reports in terms of the percentage hit, in terms of the standards that courier posts that we're using deliver. We've managed to integrate courier post into the back end of our website and now onto the front end, so customers can see when an item, where it is in the process. Is it at a depot? Is it out with the driver? And we even send them an email when it's been delivered as well, in case they're at work.
The range, of course, has grown hugely. I mean, your latest this year is just you're starting to go into household products and everything. So is there an end point, or can you potentially see yourself that you'll almost stock everything at some point in time in the future?
We're keen to stock everything we can. We know we need to do it well. We can't add a category and do a half-assed job and expect people to buy stuff and that just doesn't happen. So the challenge for us is making sure we do it well. And in some categories, that's a real challenge in terms of suppliers and retailers are very predictive of the old school ways and are not keen to sell to online stores. So we're constantly battling up against those sort of barriers. But I think we can go very, very wide with our products.
Do you think there is an acceptance that online people are just recognising that you can't really stop the train, that it's well and truly left the station now?
It has left the station for sure. At the same time, I think we are still only just getting started. I think there's going to be a lot of changes over the next 20 years, and where we are today is going to be, we'll look back as the old days, and a lot of things are going to change. I think the scary thing is perhaps that New Zealand is a little bit behind in that regard. It's a small country, it's a small market, it's very, very hard to get scale, which I think is one of our big advantages. It's just difficult to get big here, which I think puts off a lot of small guys from starting, or they do start and they just can't get the traction needed to to really break through and get out there in the market. So it's a challenge.
So does that create an opportunity for you, to be a really genuine New Zealand Amazon? Because there's a whole bunch of products that we produce here, obviously, that need to be distributed around the world as well. I mean, is there an interface there that you almost get into being a small-scale export interface, as it were?
I mean, we focus very much on New Zealand, but we certainly do export a lot of Kiwi-made product, like Outrageous Fortune was huge, selling that around the world.
Flight of the Conchords?
Yeah, Flight of the Conchords, Go Girls now, those sort of products, it's great selling them into all sorts of countries.
Things like wine or that sort of thing, could you see that becoming potentially as well?
Maybe. Yeah, I think we could do wine.
Yeah. When you talked about that 20-year vision, have you really thought through what that landscape might look like in the year 2032 if you were to put your futuristic hat on?
No, not really. I think it's very difficult to look too far ahead. I think you can sort of look 5 years ahead, and I think there'll be a lot more competition for us. And probably, I think the scary thing is that there'll be a lot more international competition for everybody, and more so the retailers than us. And I think that should be very concerning for retailers.
I was going to ask you about that, because when you look at people like The Warehouse, they've really started to muscle into this online space. Obviously, in the last 6 months, it's as though the pennies really started to drop with their purchases of Torpedo and the recent purchase. How much of a challenge and a threat is that going to be to your business model?
Time will tell, I guess. At the moment, we're pretty confident that our website's better and our products are cooler. So I'm sure they will be a threat, but we're still very confident with how we're going.
So that comes down to customers really embracing you and feeling loyal towards you. That's obviously an important part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, it's our biggest defence is keeping our customers happy, and that is what we're focusing on. So I'm not sure why our customers would switch to The Warehouse if we are keeping them happy and we've got better products, cooler products. I don't think they will.
Is there a particular strategy you adopt to keep them happy, beyond simply making sure that their goods arrive on time? Are you actively engaging with them to get over that next level? Sure.
I mean, we obviously use Facebook a lot to interact with people, and Twitter, and we also receive a lot of emails. We've got our phone lines as well, so people certainly do call us and email us, and perhaps that's the surprising thing, is we're actually in contact with our customers a lot more than we would have been with the retail store, where they would pop in once a week. This way they are interacting with us almost on a daily basis. So there is definitely a lot more interaction there, which is great.
You've also found some interesting ways to leverage your customer base. So that, for instance, people can sell items to each other. So there's almost elements of the Trade Me model in there as well too. Just explain how that works. Yeah,
so our customers can list their used products on the website and sell them to other customers. So the only thing is that the product needs to be on our website already, but that is actually surprisingly successful. Our biggest challenge is actually inventory in terms of getting enough listings, and people, they do sell.
Was that one of those ideas that just kind of happened organically?
It's sort of phase one in a phase 3 program. So we really want to extend that out to businesses, and there are a lot of other opportunities there. So.
Funding the business, has this been a large consumer of capital for you?
We've been pretty lucky. We have a very strong cash flow. People pay for goods when they ship. We don't have to give credit to businesses and worry about that sort of stuff. We've actually, our biggest capital investment has been stock. We've got quite a bit of stock. So it actually hasn't been as challenging as you would expect. It'd be a lot more challenging now to start from zero and get to where we are. We would be spending a lot of dollars in stock.
How much leverage does it give you in terms of your buying power? Obviously, the bigger you grow, the better your buying power becomes. Yeah, well, that's a challenge. It's a challenge for new categories. It's like you're starting on zero. Categories like computers are very difficult. It's very volume based, and when you start from zero, you don't have any volume, and you just can't. It's very difficult to get the ball rolling. But the beauty of the internet is we can reach so many more people than a retail store can. So we can build up that volume relatively quickly, and then become competitive and actually start winning. So, And then there's the efficiency. You don't have to find a car parking space. You don't have to sort of leave home to do all your shopping. As people get busier, do you think that's also the attraction that's really kicking in with online? It's just the convenience factor?
Well, we definitely compete on convenience. We know we can't win on price when you're comparing some of the stuff with Trade Me or overseas websites. Winning on price in the long term, I think, would be very, very difficult. So you've got to, we always look at competing on convenience and providing fantastic service. For us, it's about trying to ship it today and you get it tomorrow. So convenience is important.
Obviously, Fish Pond, one of your big competitors. Do you treat that as a really competitive situation?
I think we're at the opposite ends of the service scale. I mean, they're very much about having millions of items available with very slow delivery times and coming from overseas. We sort of view that as that's nice, but it's the customer experience is or can be average. So we're at the other end of that where we want excellent service. So I don't think we're competing always head on for the same customer. I think we're probably slightly different ends.
You've gone into Australia. How's that been performing for you?
Very well. Australia seems to be just rocketing ahead. So I think in terms of regrets for our business, I think the only regret we have is that we didn't start Australia sooner, because the growth there is excellent. So,
do you think that will be a template that you could take to Asia or other parts of the world?
Something we are considering. Should we be looking at US, UK? You don't have to be huge over there to be successful. You can be very small over there and still be very, very successful.
What's your long-term goal? Would you consider an IPO perhaps at some point down the track?
We would consider it. Not sure if I'd be the one to lead it, but being as shy as I am. But it is something we would consider.
Yeah. And what is the sort of growth objective that you've perhaps got at the back of your mind in the next 5 years?
Our first goal is really to get to that 100 million turnover mark. That would be nice, and we're well on the way, and I think that's very, very achievable. At the moment, it's really just get as big as we can, as fast as we can.